What's going on, everybody? Listen, I really want to go ahead and get into this movie. Let me give you a little background. I was actually going to do another movie review today, but I'm not going to tell y'all what that movie is because I'm going to save that movie to release on Christmas Day. Yes, I am going to release that movie on that movie review on Christmas Day. This past weekend, I was procrastinating and I found a movie on HBO Max called A Christmas Serenade. And I was interested because I was like, okay, it's another Christmas movie, but I'm just going to say it. I love black people in Christmas movies because I feel like we're so underrepresented. And so I'm starting to get into like more black Christmas stories. Let me tell you something. This movie was very, very interesting to me. Let me read you the description. Musician Jeremiah returns home to play a gig with his band and gets recruited to take over as the minister of music for the annual Christmas Jubilee at his home church, reigniting his feud and romance with the pastor's daughter, Willow. I don't think okay, so that description does pretty much like sum up the movie. Let me start by saying that I think this movie was a little busy. There was a lot happening. There were a lot, I'm not going to say a lot of different storylines. I just think that they wanted it to be multiple things at once. And in the end, I was thoroughly entertained, but I kind of felt like I was watching like two or three separate movies at the same time. And I'm not going to go like scene for scene of what happened, but I mean, as you heard from the description, Jeremiah goes home. So Jeremiah is like part of this man's team, band, whatever. This man, who Dante, who is like a big singer, he's a big star. And you can tell Dante is kind of like one of those people. He's like a male diva, whatever. And he has this apparently a horrible contract where he's locked in to work there for another 2 years. And so randomly, they decide that they want to go to like a small town, and they decide to go to a town that just so happens to be Jeremiah's hometown. And then you got Willow there, who Willow is singing in her father's choir, and and she wants to sing other music. I'm laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm just there's so much I know I'm gonna miss something, and I'm not looking forward to the fact that I'm going to miss something because it was just so jam packed. So Willow was looking for like her big break. She's bored in this small town. She's bored in her father's church, but her father is adamant that she is not going to sing secular music. We find out why later on. And he wants her to focus on the church. Now, apparently, he will not let her like change anything about this Christmas play. They have the Christmas play every single year, or not the Christmas play, but like a Christmas like well, they call it a Christmas Jubilee. So it's like a girl, the choir performs. They have different things going on. I don't know what to tell you. It's like a part, not a party. It's like a performance. It's like a thing that you put on, an event. So he will not let her change anything. She wants to do something different. She's doing different things, kind of like behind his back. He makes her promise that she's not going to sing in any clubs, which I thought was just the most not random thing, but I was like, why would you immediately go to her singing in clubs? Because if this is another thing that kind of bugs me about these kind of Christmas movies is they'll say that it's a small town, but then it's like a metropolitan area. And it's like they'll say it's a small town, but then they're like the capital of the state. And I don't know. That didn't have anything to do with anything. I know this review is a little chaotic. I know that. This review is going to be a little chaotic. So he gets back in town and he goes home. First off, he goes home and he just, this is such a random thing for me to have noticed, but he walks into his parents' house. I am assuming that they knew he was coming home because he walks into his parents' house, like just opens the door, walks straight in. No doors are locked in this house. And he's just standing there, just like, he doesn't say, like, hey, y'all, I'm home, nothing like that. He just walks in and just starts looking around. So the mama comes in and she hits him in the back of the head with something. And she's like, oh, my baby's home. And then the daddy is very cold to him. So we know right off the bat that there's some tension between him and the daddy. And that kind of goes on throughout the movie. And so the next door neighbor is actually Willow's daddy, is actually the pastor of the church. And he has all these gnomes outside. And so, like, one of the little mini, I was going to say side quests, one of the mini storylines, one of the, side storylines is that Jeremiah's daddy and Willow's daddy are having this war over the gnomes because Jeremiah's daddy does not want all these gnomes out. He hates it. Willow's daddy just keeps putting out more and more. I'm just going to go ahead and skip around because it turns out later on that the pastor's wife, who has passed away, used to put out a few gnomes at Christmas. And so when she passed away, he just kept on doing it because it reminded him of her. And so Willow says that she can tell how much he's missing her that year by how many gnomes are out. And Jeremiah's daddy hears that and he gets really sad. And then he's like, because at one point he done stole the man's gnomes, but he did it right in front of a camera. And then even when the pastor put the camera to his face, he still was denying doing it. And I was like, there is no earthly way that you are really still sitting here trying to deny this. But he did. Baby, he did. Jeremiah ends up being wrangled into coming back to the church and helping them with this jubilee, this Christmas jubilee. And he and Faith immediately are not getting along. Like, when I tell you that the moment she saw him, she started reading him to filth. He was like, I haven't seen you in a long time. And she was like, not long enough. Baby, she was giving it to this man. When I tell you, I was like, oh my God, why is she being so mean to this man? And, earlier, the mama, Jeremiah's mama, was talking about how she was supposed to be her daughter in law and he fumbled her and all this and that. And so Faith is just being Faith. Where did I get Faith from? Willow is being just as petty to this man as she possibly can. They're trying to have practice, and everyone is just talking amongst themselves, whatever. And Jeremiah is trying to stop them and say, "Hey, we need to practice." And he's asking Willow, "Can you help me a little bit?" And she's like, "No, I can't. I can't help you at all." And I'm like, we need to quit. So Willow gets upset at one point because she realizes that, like, her father has basically given this man complete control of it, but he never trusted her enough to do this. And she also reveals in a conversation that her father doesn't want her singing secular music because he feels like that's what killed her mother. I feel like I don't recall getting an explanation as to why. And so I'm just gonna choose to let that go because I was like, what does that mean? But basically, Willow's mama wanted to sing stuff other than like church music, and she would sing all the time apparently. And so the daddy apparently just thinks, if you ain't singing gospel, then baby, you gone, you up out of here. Yeah, when I tell you there's so much happening. So eventually Willow and Jeremiah work out their issues and they get to be cool. And this is what I mean what I'm about to say is what I mean when I say like it feels like two different movies. So we get that out of the way, right? And we've moved on from that. That was like literally its own little movie, is watching them work through that. And so Dante is looking for a singer or whatever, and Jeremiah is going, get put in a good word for Willow. Well, Willow don't show up to the audition, and then later on she shows up like another, like I think this was another day. I can't recall if it was another day or if it was the same thing, the same day. But they were, no, it was a separate thing because they were auditioning a bunch of women one time, and then another time they were like closing up or whatever, and Willow came in. And so what happened was, when she didn't show up, he ended up telling Willow, Jeremiah told Willow that Dante said that he doesn't feel like she's a good fit. And so then later on, Willow goes to the recording studio to like prove herself. And he's like, I don't know who you are. No one said anything about you, but you got some pipes. You're in. And so that's when she finds out that, that Jeremiah lied to her. And so Jeremiah is like, I was trying to protect you from him. It was kind of for me. I'm going to say, as a person with ADHD, I have trouble explaining it because I feel like I feel like it moved kind of quick and I didn't really know what was going on. So Willow goes to perform the first performance in the town, and she gets stage fright because she don't know how to sing anything other than gospel. And so when all the lights are on and she's got the hair and the makeup and the heels and whatever else, she freezes up and she runs off stage. And so Dante runs behind her afterwards and is like, "You're fired, blah, 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 blah. I shouldn't have hired you anyway. That's what I get for hiring a hick." And I was like, "Not a hick." And so Jeremiah tries to stand up for her, and Dante is basically like, "Okay, anyway," and then they leave. So Willow was gonna put this behind her. She's like, "Okay, I had my little excitement. I'm done. I know now that I want to sing gospel music. I'm finna move on." Her friend is looking at the video while they're at the church because her friend, baby, is trying to encourage her. She's trying to encourage her to go after her dreams. She's trying to encourage her to go after Jeremiah, all of that. And so they're looking at it and they're like, she's like, "Girl, is this you?" And they see it and she's like, "Oh, girl, you look good. Your legs look good and whatever else." And Willow was like, "Yeah, I know, but I can't do that anymore. That's not who I am. That's not me." And so the friend is just standing there looking at the picture on her phone for whatever reason after Willow has walked off. And her daddy walks up, Willow's daddy walks up behind her and is like, "Oh, is that Willow?" And she's like fumbling because she's trying to watch out for her girl, but at the same time, it's like, what's she gonna do? Lie? And then the picture is right there. So he goes and he talks to Willow like she is an employee, and he fires her as like the head whatever of the choir. And I was like, oh my god. He was like, "Sister Terry, you are relieved of your duties." And I was like, not Sister Terry. Baby, talk to her like he ain't never met her a day in his life. And I was like, okay. So she gets fired. Y'all, it was so much. I mean, it was so much. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to the end. So Jeremiah gets told by Dante that they're leaving out on Christmas Eve to go do a show. He doesn't want to do it. So then he is saying his goodbyes to everybody, whatever else, and he gets on the bus. Willow brings him a present. He gets on the bus, he leaves. He opens the present, and it's a picture of them that pops out and it has like little confetti and whatever. First off, first and foremost, let me go back because I completely skipped before he left. Him and his daddy reconcile because his daddy is upset that he doesn't come home that often. And Jeremiah feels like his daddy doesn't support him, so the daddy goes and he gets this little scrapbook that he's made where he keeps all the clippings about his son's, successes in his career. This was actually a very touching moment and probably my favorite part of the movie because I love seeing men, especially black men, being able to be vulnerable. And so that was a very touching moment for me. That the daddy probably was like my favorite part of the movie just because he really was going on a journey. Like he was mad, he was angry. I think when he realizes why his neighbor has all the gnomes and stuff out, you can see that he was hurt. And you can see that he was like, I need to stop this. So the daddy ends up reconciling with everybody by the end. And I just love that. So back to Jeremiah. Jeremiah sees this, he realizes he needs to go back home and he quits. And I was thinking, well, earlier in the movie, you said that you had a contract that you couldn't get out of. So, baby, I don't think you can quit, right? Like, I think you stuck. But anyway, the movie forgot it, and I guess I'm just gonna pretend like I forgot it too. And earlier, him and Willow, I keep wanting to call this woman Faith. Earlier, him and Willow had recorded a song, like he had Willow do the demo for it, and he sent it off. So he comes back home and he gets back just in time to help with the Christmas Jubilee, of course. And it goes off without a hitch. It's spectacular. He does a duet with Willow, even though he said earlier in the movie that he wasn't a singer and whatever else. And then at one point he proved that he was not a singer. But then by the end of the movie, he can sing magically. And I said, you know what? It's the spirit of Christmas, child. I'm not gonna fight it too hard. It is what it is. So then on Christmas morning, they're all sitting around opening gifts, whatever. Him and Willow, his parents, and Willow's daddy. He gives Willow a gift, and the demo that he sent off, the people offered her a contract. So now she is a gospel recording artist. The daddy is like, okay, well, since you don't have a job, and because she's gonna be an artist, I need someone to be the girl. I was gonna say minister of magic at the church, the minister of music at the church, and so he happily accepts. And then it's like Willow and Jeremiah end up kissing by the end of it, and I was like, I mean, I knew y'all were gonna get together. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the scene makes sense. I just felt like their first kiss in the movie needed to be a little bit more like magical, and I feel like they just kind of threw it in at the end to make sure that they got the kiss in. Listen, so let me tell y'all this. I am going to take this movie for what it was because I actually don't think it was bad. I may sound very critical of it, but I really don't think it was bad. I genuinely don't. I think it I think it had a lot happening, and everything individually made sense, and I feel like it I don't know, like, I feel like I need to go back and watch this movie a second time because I kept feeling like I had whiplash, but I can't figure out why. That's the thing. It felt like two completely different movies because we had Willow's story going, we had the thing between the two daddies, we had the thing with Jeremiah. It really kind of felt like the daddy could have had his own movie and I would have been okay with that. And the fact that Willow's daddy was low key at times acting like he didn't like her, like he didn't know her. And it was, I mean, he loved her, don't get me wrong, but he was like, at one point, he was like, you think I'm gonna have my daughter, the pastor's daughter, singing in clubs? And then, like, when he fired her and he called her Miss Terry, I was like, do you even like her? What is happening? So the reason I felt the need to speak on this movie was because I watched it and I really enjoyed it. So I know that this review is a little chaotic. I just want to try to express that I really did like this movie. I just think that it needed to pick a struggle. Like, I don't think that the conflict between Jeremiah and Willow should have been solved that easily. I think that they should have started to get back on like good terms and then have like the little mishap and then like I feel like that's what they did, but then I also feel like they just went from hating each other to just being fast friends again. And they did have a conversation, like don't get me wrong, like they did have a discussion and Willow was, basically saying like you left and you didn't look back. And he said that he asked her to go with him and she said no. And I was thinking, okay, so what is she mad about? Because it sounds like you chose not to go with him, and it almost came off like she was like jealous or bitter or something. I don't know. I don't even know where to go with this movie. I think that this is one of those movies that I'm gonna have to go back and watch a second time to really be able to take in the story and really be able to absorb it. And I think that's one of the reasons that it was such a good movie to me is that there's always something happening, something to catch your attention. and you really are rooting for them as a couple. I feel like I probably would have had them kiss at the Jubilee, because I know that's a little heathenish, but I probably would have had them kiss at the Jubilee. And then that's when he gives her the letter saying that they want to have her as a recording artist. And then he says, "Merry Christmas, Miss Terry." And she's like, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Whatever Jeremiah's last name was." And then that's how you end the movie, because I feel like the little Christmas scene at the end was cute, but a tap unnecessary. It just kind of prolonged the movie a little bit more than it should have. Y'all, I don't know. I really do try to have these reviews a little bit more together than this. And so I apologize. I just really want to talk about this movie. And I hope that some of y'all have watched it so that you can kind of understand maybe what I mean, or give me a different perspective, because you may have watched it and it felt very cohesive to you, and once you explain it, like, I might be like, "Oh, that makes sense." Because it, again, I have ADHD. So for me, I tend to get distracted very easily, and I felt like I got lost in the sauce a little bit with this movie at times. But I enjoyed everything. Like, even though I felt like it was in pieces a little bit, I enjoyed the pieces and I enjoyed how they came together. But okay, let me tell you my favorite thing about this movie, if I'm being 100% honest with y'all. My favorite thing about this movie is the fact that everyone seemed like a real person. You know how, like, sometimes you watch Christmas movies and it comes across kind of like these people are literally just actors pretending to be that person, like Hallmark movies. No tea, no shade. These people felt like, I know Willow. Me and Willow used to go to school together, and Willow is hateful. She always been mean. I don't know why. I just know she been mean. And now we get into the root of why, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And Jeremiah is a little stiff to me, like a little stiff, but I do think he works as a character, and I think that he doesn't like detract from anything. Like, of course, this is Christmas movie acting, so let's not go crazy, but they make the characters feel like something. Now, Jeremiah's mama feels like she is a stereotype of a wife. Like, she genuine of a mother. Like, she genuinely seems like she served no purpose in the movie. And I hate that for her, because at one point when he's getting ready to go on the bus, she's like, "I packed you a lunch." And he's like, "You didn't have to go through the trouble of that." And she's like, "I didn't go through any trouble. I just made you some turkey, some ham, some chicken, some greens, some beans, tomatoes, and like," and I'm like, girl, come on. Let's be for real. And then what made that even funnier is she's saying that there's all this food in there, and it's like the smallest bag you can imagine. It was a little brown paper bag, and it was so flat. And I was like, there's no way you put all that food in there, because baby, it looks like it's just full of air. It's giving potato chip. And it's little stuff like that that I got caught up on. And then at one point, she supposedly had baked some Christmas cookies and was finna have to decorate them, but Jeremiah and Willow ended up decorating them. And I was like, are those cookies done? Because she took them out of the oven. She wasn't putting them in the oven. She took them out of the oven. But y'all, I swear to God, they look like bricks. They look like bricks of dough. So I was just curious as to whether they were actually cooked or not, because it looked they looked like sponges. It looked like she took some sponges and she just cut out a shape real quick. But let me not judge that lady, because I mean, clearly she's the homemaker. She's the cook. So who am I? My favorite part of this movie, though, if I'm being 100% honest, are the daddies. Like, I love the storylines that the daddies go through, especially Jeremiah's daddy, especially because Jeremiah's daddy was fine. Like, baby, that man was fine. But anyway, I loved his storyline because I really felt like by the end of the movie, he grew and he learned. And when that man cried, baby, I felt his pain. I was crying with him. And then the pastor seemed like two different people. And that was so funny. Like when he was at the church, he seemed like that stern, not even stern, but he just seemed like your typical daddy in a movie like that don't want his daughter to do something. But then when he was interacting with Jeremiah's daddy, he seemed like a completely different person. Yeah, he was angry at certain points, but he seemed like he came to life a little bit more. And I'm thinking like, do y'all know y'all writing the same person? Because I didn't think at certain points I didn't think it was the same person. I thought that it was two different people, but no, it was actually the same guy, and it was the daddy. It was the pastor. And I was thinking, like, I don't know what I was thinking. I just feel like with a little bit of refining and with some minor tweaks here and there, I think they knocked it out of the park, but it could have been knocked out of the like everything. It could have been knocked out of the state if they had made some tiny tweaks here and there. It was like your classic Christmas movie, but it was like two or three classic Christmas movies put together. Y'all, I had to go on that rant. I'm sorry. I know when y'all listen to this, I just hope you don't think poorly of me. But I literally had to talk about this movie. And I wanted to give y'all my raw, honest opinion without like trying to script it out. Like, I really wanted to talk about this movie. And I hope y'all go watch it. I implore you to go watch it. And when you do, I want you to come back here and I want you to talk to me and I want you to tell me what you thought of it. And if you don't come here, which I don't know where here is, wherever you are getting your podcast, then you can find me on social media anywhere at They Call Me Mr. G. Everywhere at They Call Me Mr. underscore G. I'm on Instagram at They Call Me Mr. period G and at Mr. G Reviews on Instagram as well. So you can find me anywhere, comment. You can find me on YouTube at They Call Me Mr. G. Like, you know where to find me by now. You can find me TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you need to find me, you can find me. So just let me know what y'all's thoughts are. And let me know what you would change, what you would keep, and how much you enjoyed the movie. So I will see y'all next time on Christmas Day, where we will talk about. I almost gave y'all the name of the movie. You're going to have to wait till Christmas, baby. Bye, y'all.